Hello, viewer. How are you doing? Welcome to Full Record Jacket. Thanks for joining us. It is, of course, the show with Phil and Ben, where we talk randomly and in an unscripted format about anything musical, but very often, at the moment anyway, this month, from 1990. Any more,
Yeah.
Ben?
Well,
I
I
mean,
have been listening
any more 1990 albums?
this week. Yes, there have been. I did start listening to the Megadeth album, but wasn't sold on it. So that one got booted into touch. Not my thing.
I haven't heard them in many, many years. I never got that much into heavy metal to be listening to Megadeth. Is it? I can't remember. Are they one of the bands where the singer goes?
Yeah,
It's.
bit that. Yeah.
I don't think I could take that. Pantera. Are
It
they
wasn't take
similar?
that. There was no
It was
Gary
different.
Barlow on it.
Yeah.
So I listened to bits of that. I wasn't sold, if I'm honest. And then I listened to. What else have I listened to? I'm just going into my library on my streaming service.
I think you listened to some of the indie albums, didn't you?
I listened to Violator, Depeche Mode. I didn't mind that. Didn't mind the Mode. What else have I listened to this week? I listened to. Now I know a few people have commented on the Ride album, Nowhere, and I did listen to it yesterday. And all I can say is now, please don't hate me. I am merely just one opinion, but I am the only one that matters. But it sounded like rubbish Stone Roses demos.
Oh.
I can only be honest, Philster. It just sounded. I can see why 90s early, apart from Stone Roses and the Happy Mondays, I can see why they were more the baggy scene. But it just sounds like really awful demos. Maybe because I've heard a lot of things like Oasis demos from that sort of period, and they've all trying to do that Ian Brown-esque vocal. But I didn't enjoy it. Oh, Charlatans. I listened to the Charlatans as well. Really enjoyed that album.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that's Some Friendly was the debut album by the Charlatans.
Yes, I did it. I really enjoyed the Charlatans album.
I can't let you
almost. Oh, it could almost crop up there.
You can't just deflect into the Charlatans after dissing Ride. That's just.
I'll tell you what.
Yeah,
I will do a demonstration, right, of how the Ride album made me feel. So this is me normal. This is me after the Ride album. Now, just bear with me a minute because I need to get back into the songs and how they made me. They made me feel like this. So
that was unscripted, viewer. I didn't expect that, even from you. Well, Ride. Now, who was the lead vocalist in Ride?
Some whiner.
Now, Andy Bell was in
Ride. I haven't got
Ride.
my glasses on. Let me just.
Was Andy Bell the guitarist?
He was, yeah.
No, he went into Oasis, didn't he?
He did, yeah.
The guitar playing on that album.
He's had some solo albums which are quite good.
The guitar playing on that album is very, very good. I suppose it all depends on. I must admit, I've never listened to the whole of the Ride Nowhere album. I did have a little flick when you texted me the other day to say that you didn't like it. I had a quick listen. I thought, well, it's got really great guitar work on it.
I think I'm about to pass out.
I can't say that I've absorbed the songs yet, so I can't really deliver a verdict on it. I suppose at that time in the early 90s, you're going to have to take that up because I can't speak seriously with you.
Get it off my head.
I'm trying to keep the thread of where I was.
Shall I just leave it like that?
I thought it was just something you'd put over your face. I didn't know you'd actually pulled it on. I didn't know it fitted like a condom.
Well, so I'm just gonna use it like that for the rest of the show.
No, I have. I have on occasion called you a dickhead, and I didn't think you were going to actually. I didn't think you were going to actually put a sheath over it.
Mark Gardner is the main vocalist, and Andy
That's him.
Bell. Yeah.
Andy Bell provided some vocals. Now, I
Yeah.
suppose at that time, I have to confess, I wasn't really into a lot of the British indie bands at that time. I was more into
Hair rock.
American stuff. Not hair rock, but I suppose it depends on your viewpoint, because I at the time had the view that many of the vocalists in the British indie bands weren't very good vocalists,
Yes,
and
I
that they
would.
were.
I would firmly agree with that
And I would say,
summation.
but I suppose in a way that was part of the appeal, because they weren't like American rock singers. They weren't.
Well, that's
They
the
weren't.
appeal. The singers were rubbish.
Well, that they weren't. It was a whole. It was a whole cultural, different culture, wasn't it? It was people who were into the indie bands. We wouldn't also generally be into Bon Jovi or Guns N' Roses or those sorts of bands
Yeah.
with those big power vocalists. And
Yeah.
it was all about, it was a follow on from the punk aesthetic as well, of that, don't
I mean,
worry.
I could see the influences in that. In the guitar, like you were saying about the guitar playing, I could hear bits of the Smiths, bits of Stone Roses in there.
Yeah, it was
the vocals, and the lyrics were good.
It was the indie sound. I suppose I personally, and again, maybe I'm being hypocritical saying this, I've never been the biggest fan of people singing in British accents, but that seems a bit ridiculous, because I do like some people who sing in British accents. I mean, I like Morrissey's British accent, and I
What
like
about Alex Turner,
Ray Davis. Don't mind early Alex Turner. I think there's many others, I'm sure, that I do like.
Damon Albarn in that sort of early apples and pears.
I didn't hate that, but I guess, I suppose there was just something about the vocalists of the bands in the very early 90s that didn't appeal massively to me. Having said that, I do think Ian Brown did it very well in the Stone Roses. I thought it worked very well with their music.
Well, him and Shaun Ryder are very similar, not in tone, but in the fact that they weren't great singers.
Yeah, but they had a charisma.
Charisma.
Shaun Ryder, again, I liked Shaun Ryder's vocals because I thought he had charisma. But I
When
suppose,
did it change for you?
I don't know when did it change for me. You see, I really love, McCartney, Lennon, Roger Daltrey, Mick Jagger, all those guys from the 60s, who are, of course, heavily influenced by America. To me, they are still, for me, amongst the great British vocalists. And then I suppose it changed. In the 70s, you still had to have quite a big rock voice, didn't you, a lot of the time?
Yeah.
And then in the punk era, that was when you had people who couldn't sing, singing in bands. But then, someone like Lydon, Johnny Rotten, he had a sneery rock and roll voice. It wasn't anything like these ones I'm talking about. So I don't know, where did it change? Sometime in the 80s it changed, didn't it? I suppose. Yeah. I think they were being influenced by bands maybe like, I suppose, the Jesus and Mary Chain, that kind of thing.
Echo and the Bunnymen.
Echo and the Bunnymen, I was going to say him. Yeah, maybe a bit of that. And the vocal style went that way. But for me, Liam Gallagher was refreshingly different. I found Liam Gallagher a really exciting vocalist, and I thought he was one of the great. I still do think he's one of the great rock vocalists of his generation.
I believe so as well.
But I was more impressed by people like. I'm not a massive Nirvana fan, but I thought Kurt Cobain had a great voice. I thought he was vocally great. I thought the guy from Alice in Chains had a good voice. I thought the guy from Soundgarden who died, they all had
Black Crowes.
Yeah, he was good. They all had a distinctive voice, and they all had a bit of power behind the voice, and had a bit of something about them, rather than just sort of this. But I'm not dissing Ride, because I think it is.
No, because I've listened to further Ride albums, and they're not too bad. But I think that sort of vocal style change. You look at the Charlatans with what's the lead singer called? Tim
Burgess.
I think it's the Telling Stories album. I think, like you said, once Liam Gallagher came out and that sort of sneering rock, Telling Stories is basically John Burgess trying to do a Liam Gallagher impression. His vocal style completely changes for that album, and I think a lot of bands then did sort of change. They got away from that sort of. It's almost sort of like a more harmonious Morrissey sort of vocal, a wetter Morrissey vocal, if that's possible.
Yeah,
I
I
know
suppose.
it's, if you get what I mean, because Morrissey's vocal took me ages to get used to. I'm going to have to take off my second brain. But he has a distinctive style where the vocals and this sort of didn't have, there was no body to them. There was no, there's nothing that goes, yes, sing it,
Yeah,
baby.
I mean,
It was like a watery wine.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
one of the arty guitar bands that I like, of course, is Sonic Youth. I know you could say, well, Thurston Moore and Kim Gordon can't sing,
Yeah.
You could easily say that, but I suppose it's because they've got American accents. I find it more palatable. It's when people are doing that sort of thing with a British accent, I don't like it as much. It's just me. But I suppose if you're going to do a genre of music called shoegazing, you've got to sort of go down and sing like that, maybe.
What a rubbish genre of music.
I don't. Well,
Shoegazing.
you say that, but then it's like it's dreamy. It's got atmosphere. The guitars create this wash of sound. That's the appeal of it, isn't it?
Yeah, I suppose I can see that.
That's the thing. And then that sort of thing, and then you go from there. Yeah, because there's people talk about dream pop as well, don't they? And I suppose shoegaze has a. I don't know where I may be wrong about this, but the early '90s shoegaze bands were in America. They weren't in the mainstream, but I think a lot of American musicians liked them, and I think they were possibly an influence on bands like Flaming Lips.
Yeah.
Which is dreamy and
was there a brand of music called Pavement, or was that a band that were called Pavement?
There was a band
Blur
called
liked.
Pavement was an American alternative rock band in the I don't know exactly when they were around in the early '90s. They were around in the
Blur
90s.
liked them, didn't they? Damon Albarn.
Yeah, I don't know how far back they go, but they were. I think they were also. I can't remember where Pavement were from, but they were considered to be either. I don't know if they were considered part of grunge or they were part of a scene before that, but I think they were an influence on Cobain and Nirvana and all them as well.
But yeah, so that's where I stand with the Ride album. It didn't do it for me.
It hasn't done it for me. Well, I'm going to listen to it because I really liked the guitar work on it, so I'm going to listen to it properly.
Then again, I did listen to it driving home from work after a long, arduous day.
So maybe you were just, hang on, pun coming up, maybe you were just going blank on Ride. You see what I did there?
I saw what you did there,
yeah. So maybe you need to give them another chance.
And, maybe I do. But
one of the band went into Oasis. What more credibility do you want?
And I do own some Andy Bell solo records, which are very good as well. So I'll tell you what, an album that did surprise me that I listened to, because the first track I was like, I've never really listened much of the Pixies, if any. And I put Bossa Nova on, and the first track came on. I was like, "What the hell is this? This isn't what I was expecting," because it's that kind of almost like thrash metal. Like, I was like, "Oh god, I can't listen to 12 tracks of this. It's almost as bad as There May Be Giants." They should just phrase that to "There may be violence if this is played." But the Bossa Nova album by the Pixies, really enjoyed that. I really liked that. And then.
Has that one got Monkey Gone to Heaven? Is that on Bossa Nova? Or was that on Doolittle? I must admit, I'm forgetting which songs are on which.
So Pixies I think the opening track, Celia Ann or something. That was a bit. I was like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. I kind of expected the Pixies to be sort of a New Yorkie-esque sort of band.
Yeah, they were from Massachusetts, weren't they?
Were they?
I think they were from Boston. I think. I'm pretty sure.
I know they influenced. They had a lot of things on Nirvana and people like that, didn't they? Weezer and that sort of stuff.
They were the amongst the gods of American alternative.
So I did really enjoy it. After I got that first track out the way, I was like, "Oh my god, I really like this," because it doesn't sound dated. Yeah, and that's the one thing that I'm finding as I'm listening to these albums for the first time. A lot of them is some of them have dated. You know, you can put a Beatles record on, it doesn't sound dated, but you can put Spice Girls Wannabe on. Not that I ever put it on, but that does sound dated now. It's got a dated sort of feel. So, but no, I really enjoyed Bossa Nova by the Pixies. But my biggest surprise, Phil, the album I pull on, and I did message you about it yesterday, which I was really surprised by because I was expecting it to be poppy, and it ended up being more hip hoppy. Was Betty Boo and Boo Mania. I liked it so much, I actually bought it.
Where are you, Benny? We used
Yeah,
to have so much fun. Um,
and I like looking at her as well. Pixies, and then I listened. Not only that, did I listen to her 1990 album Boo Mania, but then I found out she had a comeback last year, and she released a new album, and it's called, just in case anybody wants to, it's called a Boomerang, and that was really good as well. And it was kind of like, it was just a really good pop record. If you want a like pop hip hoppy sort of crossover album. But I didn't realise that Betty Boo wrote one of your favourite songs of all time.
did she? Well, I'm trying to think what other songs she wrote.
Pure and Simple by Hearsay.
Oh, dear, made shit. That was Was that the one that they did when they started? They were Hearsay was the one that were on a pop show, weren't they?
Yeah, Kim
Yeah.
Marsh and the others.
They were
Myleene Klass.
they were created on a pop show. That was
I think it was the first one of its kind, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was in the 90s, wasn't it? With
was it? Was it? No, I'm sure it was 2000.
I think it wasn't. Oh, was it? Okay, you'll have to look them up now.
Here we go. Hearsay. Yeah, but she actually wrote that song. It was actually originally.
I think it's in the 90s, late 90s, because I think Girls Aloud were created on a show, weren't they? Against
that was about 2005, 2001. It was
2001. Okay.
Yeah. I don't know how we've managed to get from the Pixies to Hearsay.
The Girls Aloud and Hearsay, yeah.
But Girls Aloud, let's see when they came up. But originally, that song, written by Betty Boo, and obviously some other collaborators got involved later on with it, was actually rejected by the A&R man at the record company. And do you know who that A&R man was?
Was he the same guy that turned down the Beatles at Decca?
No, it was Simon Cowell.
Okay.
So, but yeah, she wrote that. One of your favourite songs of all time. Girls Aloud, 2002. Blimey, 22 years ago.
So when did Hearsay start? Have you got
2001.
that? They were 2001. Okay, so they did Hearsay, then they did another thing the next year. I remember they did a battle of the bands, didn't they? Didn't they face off the boy band against the girl band or something?
Yeah, the boy band was called True Religion or something like that, or One Religion or something awful. But there was something quite credible. Oh, God knows how we've got onto this. But there was something quite credible about Girls Aloud. There was something sort of...
They are more credible than any of those other TV-created bands, aren't they, for sure? Hearsay were just pretty awful.
Yeah, and
S Club 7 and all that, Steps and all those things, they were dreadful. But there's something about Girls Aloud, they are kind of a credible pop group,
and the band that didn't make it into Hearsay went on to form Liberty X. Remember them?
That's right. Yeah,
and they weren't a bad pop outfit. I mean, I'm not one for these reality shows and stuff, but they weren't a bad outfit either. Liberty X, and they actually went on to have a much longer career than Hearsay.
Yeah.
I'm just having a look into. I can't remember the band. It might have been the band that wasn't Girls Aloud. I'm sure they're called One Religion or something like that. But anyway, that's by the by, because I have now, and I know we live in different times, so I may be looked down on this, but I have decided on my levels of the most pleasing ladies to look at in pop. I'm afraid Louise Weiner has been bumped down to number 2.
I presume Susanna Hoffs is still at the top. Yeah.
Oh, I forgot about Susanna Hoffs. Oh no, I've got
who did you have above Susanna Hoffs?
Oh no, this has got complicated. I'm in a 4-way try. Oh no, Betty Boo back in the day. I mean, Oh, Susanna Hoff. Oh, I'm really sorry, Susanna, but I think she's still not. No, I'm going to keep Susanna at the top. So it's now Suzanne Hoff, and then it's Betty Boo, and then I am going with Louise Weiner.
I would say that Betty Boo hasn't stood the test of time as well as Susanna Hoffs.
Yes. No. Yeah. No. Suzanne Hoff says, "Oh, one true voice ever called." Sound awful. Probably were, but yeah. No, that's my top three of you know.
So we've gone from Ride to
Hearsay.
the Pixies to Hearsay to you deciding who's the best looking woman
in the
history of pop
music. Yeah. Shallow as I am, but I thought 1990 was going to be a really easy year because in my head, decent music during the 90s didn't start until 1994, and I started going into a panic the other day because I was thinking, oh yeah, but I really like the Lars, and I thought I've got to listen to the electronic album, but then I remember that's 1991, so that got me out of that one. But I thought it'd be really easy to choose a top three, but the fact is, MC Hammer, Pixies, the Lars, Happy Mondays, Betty Boo, my mind is blowing.
Your mind is blowing. Well, viewer, what do you think of Ben's dissing of Ride, his discovering of the Pixies, and his
I'm not dissing
with Betty Boo?
I'm not dissing. I'm just saying, as far as albums go, the musical parts of it were fine. Like I said, I could hear the Smiths' influences. I could hear the Stone. It's just it was ruined by that dreary vocal. So,
okay. Well, I'm gonna listen to Ride properly, and then I will deliver something of a verdict. And I must admit, I've not listened to many other 1990 albums this week.
You've got some catching up because we've
I've
only
got a bit of
got
catching
2
up
weeks.
to do. I know.
2 weeks. Two more weeks until we have to give our verdict on 90. I haven't even listened to Let Them Eat Bingo or World Party. Oh, that's going to be a busy week, Phil. To get it down to 3 each. Oh, it's going to be a busy week, Phil.
It will. Let us know, viewer, have you rediscovered any other 1990 albums, and do you have anything to say about Ben's Ride opinion? We will be back with another video very shortly. Thank you for watching.